Good evening, all participants. Good evening, Khandelwal sir. Good evening, Dr. Paresh Karya sir. I welcome you all to the webinar on leading through the crisis to a brighter future, role of special role or leadership by Dr. Anil Khandelwal. With this, I'll request all the participants to mute their mics and put off their videos during the presentation. Uh, Initially, Dr. Paresh Karya, our chairman of AMA Programs Committee, will introduce Anil Khandelwal sir, and then sir will be addressing. And then last 10 minutes we can have a Q&A through chat box. With that, I hand over the session to Dr. Paresh Karya. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Radhika. On behalf of AMA, warm welcome again and very good evening to all of you. And I thank you, Dr. Anil Khandelwal ji, giving his valuable time to deliver today's session. Very interesting title, Leading Through the Crisis to a Brighter Future. So before we start the session, it's my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Anil Khandelwal ji. So Ahmedabad Management Association with Dr. Khandelwal goes back to early 80s, right? Many years we had several programs from Dr. Khandelwal. So it's very known to all of us, Dr. Khandelwal ji. Basically, Dr. Anil Khandelwal is PhD. He's also a former chairman and managing director of Bank of Baroda and Dena Bank, a best-selling author and a battle-tested leader. He is known for his pioneering work in transforming Bank of Baroda into a valuable brand. And even I endorse, even Bank of Baroda is my banker even today. Even in Southeast Asia, Bank of Baroda has contributed a lot. So my full appreciation to Dr. Anil ji on giving us such a great banking facility. Dr. Anil Khandelwal ji is a multi-awarded banker who holds the distinction of being the only Indian banker to get the Lifetime Achievement Award for his contribution to the financial sector by Asian Banker, Singapore. He is an international keynote speaker on the leadership, governance, and transformation. He has authored the well-known, Khandelwal Committee on HR reforms in a public sector bank. He has been UNDP consultant on HRD and training to the Banking Reform Commission, Government of Tanzania, and visiting professor on leadership, Asian Management Institute, Manila. He has been on board of several companies and advisor on leadership and training in a financial sector to international consulting companies, including Accenture, Bosch and Company, Havit is a long list. So his contribution in advisory is notable here. He was also a member of the first Banks Board Bureau set up by government for appointing a full-time directors on the board of a public sector banks and suggesting the reform measures. Dr. Khandelwal is a well-known thought leader, CEO, coach, advisor, and many things to his credits. Currently, he is a senior strategic advisor with KPMG India, which is a MNC consulting firm. So, Dr. Khandelwal ji, warm welcome, and now I request you to start today's session. So, over to you, Khandelwal ji. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Karya, for a very generous introduction. I really appreciate this. My relationship, as you said, goes back to early 80s with Ahmedabad Management Association. In fact, Ahmedabad has been my Karm Bhumi. I lived there for 13 long years. And as I landed, I came to know of AMA and its a dynamic missionary called K.K. Nair, who is an inspirational personality there, I should say, because he almost used to order, you have to come and take this session. Nobody ever used the word, you have to come. This was inspirational force of K.K. Nair. So I have been to right from Bhadra days to Navarangpura days to now, present campus. I love AMA for whatever I learned there. And I cut my training teeth at AMA, that I conducted so many programs and all that. So I'm emotionally attached. The other reason is that Bank of Baroda Staff College, where I joined, gave me so much. And I started my professional journey from there. And Ahmedabad, for variety of reasons, is the place I love. Having said that, about today's topic, and I have a lot of friends whom I can see on the screen, and a lot of friends from Bank of Baroda. Thank you very much for joining. And some of my personal friends are there. So thank you very much for joining. As far as topic is concerned, I was wondering when KK Nair contacted me, and I said, in this time of gloom and desperation, what do we talk? And then I thought of this, how do we move the needle from desperation and dejection to certain degree of sunlight in the bright times? Not that I have a recipe. The present times are such, nobody seems to have a recipe, nor there is a deadline as to when it will be over. But when I look back and look at various crises in the world, we can see that this is not the only crisis that is threatening us. Can you see the slides? Can you please see the slides?
No, Anilji.
Sir, no. Can you please share it, because I think you are not share.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
Now can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it is. Yeah. Now it is sure. It is.
Yeah.
Visible,
So let us
sir.
see what is a crisis. The crisis is any event that is going on or is expected to lead to
Sir,
an
can you do the slideshow mode, sir, so we can see the full screen?
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So crisis is something that leads to an unstable and dangerous situation affecting individual, groups, community, or whole society. As you see that the present crisis covers all. It covers individuals, groups, community, whole society, in fact, the entire globe, if I can say. This is an unprecedented. I should take you back to certain crisis situations and how great leaders have either led or misled through these crises. Look at some of these crises in last 20 years. 9/11 World Trade Center in US. 2 towering buildings were demolished by a terrorist attack. No one could imagine that the mighty America will face such a humiliation at the hand of terrorists. We were not prepared. America was not prepared. If America was not prepared, nobody is prepared. Then we had 26/11 Taj Mahal Hotel attack in Mumbai. I was here. And 5 or 6 people rocked the nation, and they virtually seized a 5-star hotel, the entire city of Bombay, they seized. And we were virtually mute spectator. Were we prepared? I have no answer. Then environmental disaster like BP oil spill. And there has been so much criticism that again for this environmental thing where so many people died, we were not prepared. Then Hurricane Katrina, 2005, where 12,000 people died in Louisiana, in US, and several big shots had to resign. It was a natural disaster. So the point I'm making, and as if this is not enough, the crisis could also come by cyber attacks. And nobody knows when cyber attack takes place, nobody knows what happens. Are we today? Therefore, cyber security is a very darling subject, and most organizations are working. But when this attack comes, nobody knows, and it will test the strength of our preparation. So such is the nature of crises that come. In normal times, we think we are safe, nothing can happen to us, we are going to live 100 years, and suddenly we face crisis. Now, it's not that world faces crisis. Organizations face crisis. Organizations face crisis, they stop performing. Let me share that I have dealt with such a crisis when I joined the bank as chairman. It was not crisis of that it was faltering on some financial crisis. No, there were low morale, technology was not there, the morale of people was down. We had to deal with that crisis. Then individual crisis, where somebody has entered into a grave health problem, or suddenly doctor tells you are suffering from cancer, and people are shattered, or somebody loses a great friend, somebody loses a close family member. That is a crisis. So it is not that we face crisis day in and day out. And we must understand that preparation is very much necessary for the crisis. I remember way back, 25 years back in Ahmedabad, I was heading as principal of Bank of Baroda Staff College. And one day I called a meeting of entire administration. I said, look here, about 100 people stay in our hostels. What happens if somebody expires out of heart attack or something? Are we prepared? Now, some of my colleagues thought that I have gone mad and I must be sent to lunatic asylum because I'm thinking something unnecessary, wasting my time. But you have seen, we Indians don't want to think of a crisis. If a father tells his son that, look, boy, this is time that I hand over, I don't know when there will be invitation from the God. So he said, no, Papa, please don't talk all this. And I think 70–80% people in India have not written their will for this reason, because we don't want to think of any crisis. We want to think positive. I think it's time that we plan for everything, so that whatever we can do in order to take the situation in hand, aftermath of crisis, that will help us. Now, coming back to present crisis. The present crisis is unprecedented in many ways. It has no parallel in terms of health problems, social problems, and the worst, economic problems. The whole world is facing economic depression. The poor have become poorer, and it's a grave situation, unprecedented. It is no timeline for end. Across the globe, people are facing this. Responses in crisis have to be contextual and contingent upon the evolving situation. So daily you find we have this lockdown, then it is lifted, then we find again there is a lockdown, then it is lifted, then we say it's a partial lockdown, because as the situation evolves, we have to take the decisions. The solutions are not merely technical. In crisis, there is no standard operating procedure. The solutions are not merely technical, because there is a human misery. So responses have to be agile, smart, inclusive, innovative, and adaptive. That as situation emerge, we have to take. The problems are not, as I said, follow any standard operating procedure, that there is a manual. Yes, sometimes there is a manual in case of organizations, business continuity plans and all that. And finally, COVID-19 has created a massive humanitarian challenge. When somebody will come into this, nobody knows. And daily there is some problem or the other. So what does it mean to come out of crisis? How do we define crisis? Is it loss of business and growth? Is it merely economic downturn? Or do we see the crisis only in terms of that we are losing business or a enterprise owner thinks that my business is going, or is it economic downturn, or is it about the well-being, health, and future uncertainty, anxiety for employees, customers, and society? I think that is what it depends what leader is thinking. If the leader is thinking only of his next quarter or business, he's being narrow-minded and self-centered during the crisis time. If he's thinking about the broader issues of health, well-being, future, anxiety in people, that's the real leadership. So the crisis actually throws us into the midst of human compassion and the community impact. Now look at it. During crisis time, it many imaginative things happen. The initiatives can come from individuals, all of us. In a particular manner, we are spending our time. I was just seeing all this, that there are people who are reading, there are people who are gardening, there are people who are showing their affection to animals, there are people who are trying their luck with culinary innovations. Amidst all this, public leadership emerges from individuals. Look at Sonu Sood. He is on the road. He is helping people to board buses to Bihar, to Jharkhand, to Calcutta, spending money from his pocket, creating a small band of people, seeing of people. And it has been such an inspirational act of public leadership, which I have not seen in last 40 years. Look at another example of Kanta Murli Kallar during the recent havoc of Bombay rains. This lady guards a manhole for 8 hours, ensuring that nobody falls in the manhole. I haven't seen a poor lady leaving her home, children, and guarding the manhole. Now, these are very inspirational examples from the society. And these inspirational examples inspire us, common people, to take charge during crisis. Because in crisis, we cannot afford to look only on appointed leaders, whether in organizations or in society, because leaders need many public leaders who can come and join in this. Now look at it. Let us come to the organization. In the work organization, today the employee has come at the center stage because it is the employee who runs the organization, who delivers service, and on his safety, on his motivation, the organization runs. We always say employees are our greatest resource, but treat them as liabilities most of the time. That's a fact. We always think there is a contract that I pay you this money, you better do this. I think that's a very narrow view of the organization. Today, we have to take a holistic view, not only of the employee, but of the family in terms of social security, personal health, child care and homeschooling, personal finances, work-life balance, stress and mental health, social isolation, and productivity. So some of the key leadership principles that can guide us, crisis or no crisis, in dealing with employees is that today the focus has got to be on the mental health of employees as well as on all others. We do not know, staying 6 months, especially youngsters, they are undergoing tremendous amount of mental challenge. They are undergoing a sense of frustration. The millennials, the young people who are so much used to socialization and moving in their friend circle, just imagine, they're sitting at home, and on the top of it, work from home, on which I will come little later. The mental health has become the biggest issue today. The mental health doctors are today the busiest lot in the society. Perhaps they are having their season in the sense of business. So we have to go beyond legal contract and look at compassion and human values, because this will hold the key. This is the leadership principle. And prepare for contingencies and future. And this can happen provided we have a familial feelings. This familial feelings is the psychological cover to the family of employee. Whether in family there are old people, are they susceptible to COVID? Should they undergo COVID? What is it that I can do? How can I help? Extend my helping hand. I think these kind of networking and connections are example. Look at the lemon by Patu Keshwani, its managing director, who is IIT IIM chap. 20% people he has been employing who are handicapped people. I have met some of these people in Lemon Tree Hotel. And during this time, out of 8,000 people, he has not laid off a single person. Not that he's a billionaire, but he has worked out the scenarios in which all work on projects had been stopped. 1,000 top managers have sacrificed salary up to 65%, and 80% revenues have gone and 70% cost saving. Through lot of hard work, they have worked out a situation in which not one person is laid off. Will employees of Lemon Tree Hotel forget this gesture? Will they not go an extra mile to serve the hotel? Will they not in normal times be more loyal and productive? That's an issue. Now, using new forms of working and innovations with human face, work from home. Now, while it cannot be denied that although work from home, 5-10% was always there, the COVID has provided a huge opportunity for work from home. On the positive side, it facilitates smooth and anxiety-free working. No doubt about it. It developed, but we need to develop a protocol, as it is another productive alternative. And we need to compensate people in terms of their psychological health, in terms of their financial additional finances. And I will tell you the reason. Please understand the negative power of anxiety and uncertainty, because during work from home, some organizations have gone overboard. They think employees available 24/7. Phones are received during lunchtime, during sleeping time, during dinner time, Saturdays, Sundays, conferences, meetings, and worse still, we have found, I've talked to a number of millennial people, my friends, sons, and other young people, and you see that on the top of it, the behavior of some managers has become very pungent. Their behavior is not to question how and why, but do and die. You must understand the anxiety level of these people, that they have families, they have work to do at home, they have to go outside to fetch things. And on the top of it, this anxiety creating environment has made work to home as a kind of a prison at home. I think there are huge benefits of work to home. We can make it, I think, benign. But so we need to take, leaders need to take, I think, the message that work to home does not mean that employees are under siege. That's the point I want to make. So this anxiety and uncertainty can change us also for the worse. Bosses' behavior is critical. They need to stand by their employees instead of putting them into pressure cooker environment. Be aware of negative chain reaction. If employee is unhappy, his wife is unhappy, the family is unhappy, the stressed employee's face is visible on the dining table, it is visible in home. In the office, if it happens, we don't know. But if it happens at home, the whole family is affected. So therefore, be a facilitator of change. Share candidly, support open-heartedly, and deal with humanity and compassion. This is what leaders and managers need to understand, that this is difficult time as much for their juniors as for themselves. And they must support open-heartedly and deal with humanity and compassion. Now, when you look at the big picture, the big picture, the big picture is that during this time, we need to build a confident and positive, responsive culture. We need to give confidence to people that perhaps these times may not last long. And even if they last long, how do we work with resilience? How do we work with confidence? How do we work with collaboration? How do we work with calm and patience? This is the time to really give that culture to the organization. Then creating a truly, as I said, familial organization, that we are a family, a big family. We are an extended family. Your anxiety is my anxiety. And we institutionalize compassion. What is compassion, by the way? We use it so often. Compassion is something where I experience your pain and I'm willing to help you resolve that pain. It's beyond empathy. I may feel empathetic, but compassion is beyond empathy, where I experience your pain and I take some concrete action to resolve that pain. The other day, during lockdown, my son came, he said he wants to visit a friend who is alone. He's facing a little bit of problem. After initial hesitation, I realized here is an act of compassion my son wants to act with. And I was very happy, visited him, took some risk. I'm talking 2 months back, spent some 2-3 hours with him. He came back. I felt very good, because when you experience the pain of someone and take some concrete action to help, that is compassion. Mere drawing room discussion about migrant laborers, seeing the TV time and again and say, oh, what is this happening? Very sorry. And making orders for exotic food and making list of exotic food, what we can enjoy on online, nothing wrong with that. But I think the real compassion is sharing the pain. And I think during this time, also reform and reorganize the organization in terms of working methodologies, in terms of, because during this time we know what is wrong with the organization and we can reform and reimagine the potential of our organization. What is the new potential? That a car company like Mahindra gets into manufacture of ventilators, manufacture of PPE kits. So we can, a lot of people have gone into new potential for their organization and reforming them. And what is most important during this time is communication, 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 and being very brutal, not merely pep talk and communicating wrong things, communicating what we know, what we don't know, what we are trying to find out. Everyone wants to know the latest, what is happening, and we must inform community, our employees, everyone, where do we stand with regard to our organization? Where do we stand in terms of business? Where do we stand in terms of the collective health of our people and the community around us? And finally, I will say, lead with agility and humanity. Lead with agility and humility. Agility means smartness. The smartness that our usual style of delayed communication or management by pooch is not there. We are agile in whatever we do. We are agile in whatever we conceptualize. We are agile with everything. And also finally, with humility. Crises can be managed with extreme efficiency, quick action, because there are no SOPs, daily new things arise. We can find innovative solutions, mobilize people. A good crisis teaches us many lessons. It always teaches us many lessons. In handling, I will not say crisis, but a sort of crisis in my organization, I learned many lessons I will like to share with you. The lesson I learned is that the most important people in the organization are foot soldiers, the people who give service down below, people who come in contact with customers, people who are ambassadors, and they know least about the organization. When organizations are not performing well, they are given a pep talk that we are doing very well, we are country's #1 bank, nothing can happen to us. Their voice is not listened to. They are nearest to people and they are farthest from the thinking at the corporate level. And therefore, when this bridge was narrowed, when I went to the field and talked to hundreds and thousands of people, hundreds of suggestions which unfortunately we could not imagine at the top level came, and that became the fulcrum of our transformation. Therefore, the lesson I learned was that the wisdom is in the field always. Whether when we manage COVID, whether we manage an organization, the wisdom is in the field. Go and talk to employees. Go and talk, what are they experiencing in terms of the new ideas? What is the next door competitive organization is doing? What is it that our policies are not working at ground level? What is it? This thing I learned. The second thing I learned, that look at suspicion with those who are always bringing good news to you. Look for people who are critics, sometimes cynical, and sometimes I go to the extent of saying are negative in our quote and in quote. As long as they are performers, they have grand ideas. Listen to them, lend your ears, and you will find they come out with brilliant ideas. The only thing is, for several years, when people are not listened, they become cynics. The second lesson I learned in handling, and other lesson I learned, which was very difficult when you are doing things, is how can you manage yourself during difficult time? And this is the #1 challenge in terms of keeping yourself calm, in terms of mobilizing others, in terms of being innovative, in terms of, because all change, whether at nation level, any level, is personal change and personal transformation. I would like to share some of the great organizations during COVID period, what they have done. Mahindra, for example, just imagine, we were talking about the human-centric organization. What Mahindra did in order to, look after their employees and their families, 25 top doctors in Bombay, they booked 24/7 available to their employees and their families. They also brought a good number of nurses through their Tech Mahindra Nursing School to Bombay, and they were available, and they put several ambulances on call for their employees and families. Now look at it. When you look after employees, this was the time they could get into even the most difficult time in the manufacture of what is that called? Ventilators, you know. And the work stream had been going on. Hero Honda. I've collected all this. I've been hearing some of these interviews that coming. Not one person laid off. Not one person. I think the first thing during crisis organizations run is to lay off people, as if they have no families, as if they have. I know of a small scale industrialist, a friend of mine. Only 100 people work in his organization. He paid 2 months' salary. He had no money for third and fourth month. He mortgaged his house. He had 2 houses. He mortgaged his house to pay third month's salary. And when workers came to know of that, they volunteered. No, sir, only give us as much which can buy ration and the very minimum in my family. So people respond. People know that here is an employer who has gone to this extent in his familial, creating a familiar, because your pain is my pain, kind of a thing. Now, other organizations also, one is, we always say during crisis, leading from the front. There is an organization called ACT Act, which is a fiber net company in Bangalore. And their people, when they were in the market for selling, their bosses were accompanying just to show that we are not merely passing instruction. If you are vulnerable to COVID, I would also be vulnerable to COVID. Demonstrating leadership by example. So the point that I am making is that crises come, crises go. Sometimes these crises are for a month, 2 months. Sometimes crises can be long. Crisis provides a great opportunity for personal reflection about reorganizing our personal lives also in terms of our health issues, which we may not have bothered. And now we are overtaking, overdoing with immunity medicines. We are taking homeopath, Ayurveda, this Ved, that Ved. But can I reorganize that? I reorganize my daily life, my exercises, my food, my this or that, so that for life I develop immunity, not only for COVID. We need a lot of personal reflection, as I said, for doing things that I have not done because I may have time now. Some of us, of course, if not the youngsters, some of us have time. Can we spend more time reading? Can we do more time this? Can we do something, make a group of people in the service of people? So a whole lot of things can be done during, because adversity always provides a good opportunity. Einstein said. In fact, there is a book called Welcome Adversity, and a huge amount of what world has done during adversity, huge amount of innovations during adversity, huge amount of innovations have come. We have, in our own country, we have shown that we did not have one piece of PPT when this crisis came, and how today we are exporting it. So therefore, human potential is unlimited. We can do wonders with the human potential. The only thing is that we need to experiment with the human potential. We need to experiment. And the most important thing is, how do we raise passion of people? How do we raise at a level that collectively they are able to contribute. Something has gone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir,
So,
we can hear you.
yeah, because my screen was off.
Yeah.
Now you look at it. People have tried different kind at national level. You must have heard these days.
Sir, but sir, sorry to interrupt. The presentation is off. I think.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but the presentation has gone off.
Presentation is over. You take it as if it is over. It's over. Presentation, don't worry.
Okay, sir, you can go ahead. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah, there is some problem. So just a minute. I think technology has supported us for 45 minutes. Just a minute. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can perfectly hear you.
So, not, disturbed. Let it go on. Yeah. I this happens, Never mind. Never mind. Okay, I'm back. So the point I'm making is that these crises will come and go. Caution is the name of the game. Keep going. Caution is the name. Can you hear?
We can hear you. There are some questions and I can just, can we ask?
I think I will conclude here because there's a lot of problem in my system, which is virtually, I think, asking me to stop.
It should not happen, sir, but.
In my system, no, as long as you can hear me, we can start the questions now.
I can hear you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, friends. Thank you very much for listening to me. And I'm sure each one of you is such an intelligent person and life's experience is there that you have your own stories to tell. But nevertheless, I'll be very happy to take up the questions. Hello.
Yeah, we are audible. Dr. Anilji, very interesting talk, bigger picture you have shared with us.
Yeah.
And I think your one word has really personally touched me. Wisdom is in the field.
Yes.
So, and there is a lot of feedback coming in the chat box that very nice talk, interesting talk, a lot of learning. But now I request if any question, please put it to the chat box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions? Please put it in the chat box, please, participants. There are many, like people are actually appraising the presentation and everything. They're appraising Khandelwal sir's presentation that he has very well illustrated and very practical issues have been during this crisis.
So I think Radhika, there is no question. I think majority is the feedback, which is very positive. But Dr. Anilji, I will definitely ask one question on behalf of my team. Okay. Sure. And my question is very simple. I think what all you said, wisdom is in the field, right? And my challenge in a corporate today, in this crisis, what I'm finding, due to this isolation, work from home, I'm observing that, little bit on a respect level, the respect level is going down. I'm finding, very, sometimes touchy. So any thought on this?
No, respect level where? Between whom?
See, couple of employees, they develop the distance. Earlier, they used to work very, very closely in the office, right? So lot of ignorance has started when we adopted work from home. So, coming back to each other, because today we depend on each other to deliver customer.
Yeah. So I will say that since I don't know the context of your organization, it won't be. Are you hearing me?
Yes, please.
because my screen has gone completely blank. So I have lost confidence whether anybody is listening. So, you know, this may be a temporary phenomenon. We don't know context. When you, with your respect is a very important word, why they should lose respect. If you are respecting your employees, they will behave, but we don't know whether they are receiving respect from you. If they are receiving respect from you, I see no reason why they should not respect you. So it's a very reciprocal, unless they have gone mad.
Correct.
Yeah.
I understood that way. Now there are a couple of questions. I will read it.
Yeah.
So question number one, how to keep the team motivating on a continuous basis?
Look here, continuously communicating with the team is the way to keep them motivated. Continuously communicating, not in terms of giving them sermons and do's and don'ts. How many times we communicate with the employees on non-work related things? Communicate with employees as if they are friends. You are sharing something that may help them generally. You are communicating something that you have read. You are communicating on something that you would like them to. But I think most of the time we communicate on work related things. And frankly, whether it is employees or me, when I was receiving so many circulars daily from Reserve Bank of India, I was also fatigued. Work related things fatigue people if there are too much of overdoing of it. And non-work related things, if we share, I think that motivates people. There are, it's not always all the time about the work. That's what my
Noted.
submission.
Now there is a question by Vidita. She is MBA, and her question is, how can MBA be prepared to such a crisis, because many companies have already laid off the job?
Well, I have no answer. MBA has to. MBA is not something that you know, you have to also find a job. If you get a job, I wish you good luck. I have no recipe that, but please be assured that I'm sure things will definitely be better and brighter. I'm very sure. Keep learning, keep doing something. And today, I think more than job, you need to be self-employed. There are a lot of people who are doing things, that they are self-employed. In this country, unfortunately, the dignity of work has not come. And therefore, we always look to job. Jobs are important. But whole lot of people today are going for self-employment. They are doing something. And if you go to net, there are hundreds of ideas on entrepreneurship.
Thank you, sir. I think this is a moment of truth you shared with us. One question by Professor Mrudang Mehta. He said that how can a single person, not in a position, can bring the positive change in organization?
Yes. I had to wait 30 years because I always thought that a single person can he bring. So I was in my all jobs doing things differently the way I wanted. As long as you are a performer, people will watch you and people will listen to you. But your real moment to make difference comes when you are in some position to do that. I don't say that yes, single person can do. I completely agree. But what single person can do is not to lose his or her identity and continuously work on self-improvement. And when the day of reckoning comes, even as an ordinary manager supervising 4 people, because you can make your impact even in junior positions. But yes, sometimes it's very difficult that we feel, what can I do? But tell me something. Is Sonu Sood not a single person who made difference and become darling of the nation? He could think, what could I do in this COVID? I'm alone. There are very big actors. There are iconic figures. What can I do? And here is a person who was in a villain's role in a movie we knew, and he comes on the road and he becomes a national star. So please never give up, never write off yourself. You can do wonders if you want.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
all.
So one more question by Mr. Sanjay Vyas.
Yeah.
Said that in a company, why majority of the companies are reducing number of employees as only option for reducing the cost, whereas the most valuable asset is the people in the company, right?
So look here, it will depend on the company. Look here, if the company is in really in such a position that it can't continue, that in such a difficult situation, then laying off can be an option. But can we make this laying off humane? There are people who are laying off and they are helping them get jobs elsewhere. Then it is a humane. Second thing, layoff cannot be the first option. Layoff should be the last option. As I said, somebody mortgaged his house before laying off. As I said that somebody came out with the alternate manufacturing thing before laying off. So I think laying off should not be a pretext. Oh my God, now this is going on, let us get rid of people. I think that's not something that creates problem. But certainly in times when technology is coming, when things are changing, laying off is an option. And therefore, I say always keep learning to improve your employability. There is nothing like 30 years or 40 years employment now. Let me share with you. We must improve our employability. That if I leave this place, I have such personal skills that I have more than one opportunity. But if you are stuck with a mindset that I have not improved my ability and I use organization merely as a, that it will give me a lifetime employment, those days are behind us. There's nothing like lifetime employment today.
Thank you, sir. I think it's again a moment of truth you said. And one more question, Mr. Prem. He said in real life, sir, organizations are expecting very high level of performance from the employee. As such, there is a divergence from what should be, compassionate approach to the pressure approach.
I completely agree. Performance is important. No organization can be sustained without performance, but maniac obsession with performance at the cost of employees' mental health, maniac obsession with performance at the cost of what are we creating to the life of individuals. And let me also share with you, performance plus compassion works. An employee should know that, okay, I am giving my so much time, but when I have problem, this organization will stand by me. I can give you some examples on this, and pardon me for giving my own example, because I have only that, I can only share my experience, not as somebody else's experience. Would you believe that we started in the bank a helpline for 40,000 employees? They could directly write to me as chairman. Many of my colleagues said, "Sir, this will be a big mess." I said, "Look here, don't worry. If an employee has a life and death problem, where should he go? In a highly bureaucratized organization, where should he go? Somebody's mother is dying in some Dumka district of Bihar. He wants transfer to be with his mother. Where should he go?" Those were the things in my mind, and we started. And believe me, the first thing that came to me under this program was, I was in Hong Kong. Interestingly, this issue came from Ahmedabad. There was an officer working here, and he wrote to me, and there was a rule in my secretariat that I'm not going to ask how many credit proposals have come. I'm going to ask what has come in Sampark, direct helpline to chairman. And my secretary told, or sorry, I had also kept a personnel specialist in my chairman's office who told me that, sir, there is this letter. This employee wants 3 months temporary transfer to, I think it was Chandigarh. Reason, his 24-year-old son has died in car accident in New York. He's a computer, studying computers. He has died in car accident. The first thing I did was I got connected to this gentleman, spoke for 20 minutes from Hong Kong, offering him to fly him to New York to for funeral and all that, which he said, no, sir, everything has taken place. Immediately, I want to proceed to Chandigarh. Accompanied with another officer, we delivered him in the Chandigarh. He could be with his wife and 3 daughters. He had requested 3 months temporary transfer. I gave him 3 years transfer. As negative news travel fast in organizations, positive news also travel fast in the organization. And believe me, that the kind of issues that were coming, it made me part of the family. I thought, am I a head of family or head of a bank? You have to touch the heart of people. Lot of such things were coming. Some of the things I cannot share, and some of the problems employees face in their daily life. That they run to unions, they run here, they run there, they run to politicians. Why they should not come to their top men? Why should we not solve their problem? This is the issue. And once we solve in the most difficult time employees' problems, I tell you, they give their life, passion. And that is the reason that hundreds and thousands of employees of the bank delivered a bank which has become a valuable brand in the country from a time we were losing our market share. We were dropping like nobody's business. This was the game employee can play of positive game of raising the organization to unlimited height. We need to understand this part.
Thank you, Dr. Khandelwalji. I think your act is personally touching all of us, right? And your Sampark program is really opening the bigger picture at this point of time. Now, last 2 questions before we end.
Yeah.
There is a question by Mr. Nikhil. He's a student, and his question is, how can student cope up with this crisis and do well in their study?
Yeah, do well in your study. That is my answer. That do well in your study. And second thing is that develop a learning mind. Study apart, you must be well informed. That is very important. Today's jobs are not given purely on technical ability. Let me tell you. Technical ability is one thing, but your general awareness, because 2 persons go for interview, they have same technical ability. You are so keep learning, I tell you. Keep learning, keep extending your horizon. How many of you, I would like to say, that you may be an engineering student, you may be an MBA. How many of you read English literature? How many of you read Shakespeare, for example? Would you believe at the age of 72 that I missed all that in my life. Only lately, a friend of mine taught me Shakespeare, and all and I was cursing myself. I have not read, and not that my life is incomplete without Shakespeare, but I thought that many of the ideas, many of the things I could use in my writings, in my things. So likewise, there are a whole lot of things. I have never been particularly very religious, although I fear God. Last 1 year, I am having my web session from a friend of mine in US every Tuesday and every Friday, 1 hour lesson on Gita. I have never played any game in my life, never learned, because those days our family conditions were such that all these things were considered waste of time, better study. And I think that was the right decision at that time. At the age of 64, I learned swimming. So there is never a time which is late for you. You are a young man, you are studying, expand your horizon, learn. That famous Robin Sharma, who wrote Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, he was once with me in Bombay in a program, and he spoke. Every 90 days, he learns a new skill. And that germinated in my mind. And from that time, I started thinking, what is it that I should learn? And that led to my learning so many new things, reading literature, learning literature, doing this thing. So, young man, my suggestion to you is that expand your area of learning, expand your ability, expand your horizon. That's what I can say.
Thank you, Dr. Khandelwal. One last question before we conclude, and this is by Mr. Anupam Day. His question is, sir, what are the most competitive advantage of India in comparison to other countries during this COVID-19 crisis?
Human capital. And I'm saying it after, a friend of mine introduced me, I think who's attending this. 3 days back, he introduced me that I should see a CIO conference on net, a virtual conference. I was amazed that the way this conference on net I attended, virtual conference, they virtually gave you an experience of you are entering a big hall and there are inside this desk and that desk and exhibition. I thought, where is the need for physical conference now? Believe me, I can't. And that day I realized, and in 2 day conference, there were at least 50, 60 speakers, most Indians, young people. I was amazed at their knowledge. And I thought, I don't know 10%. Of course, they were all talking on technical and all that, but even on the subjects that we are talking, they are far ahead of us. I tell you, world has gone too far, and our Indians, amazing, I tell you, the knowledge. And so I must say what I have always been saying, I'm convinced that India's competitive advantage remains human capital. And as long as India can recoup the wasted human capital, because at least 50% human capital is wasted in India, which does not find opportunity, which does not find encouragement, which does not find financial support, which does not find many things. And therefore, uh, I always request my worthy friends and wealthy friends that instead of spending money here and there, each one of us can spend part of our money in bringing up this talent. And believe me, the talent from the poor, talent from people with village background. I am today reading a book by one Zinpa. He's a great book on compassion, and he has been an English translator to Dalai Lama. This man's father, when they came as Sharanarthis from Tibet, this man's parents were construction workers, and he lived in temporary nomadic this. Today he's professor in Stanford University. Amazing. This is the limit of human potential. Hard work, hard work, hard work. Expand your vision and world belongs to you.
Thank you, Dr. Anilji. And I think wonderful presentation, very insightful, and question answer was so interesting. I know still there are questions, but there is a challenge. We exceeded our time, and today's attendees were more than 65 plus. So, which is again, the great interest by all of us. So, Radhika, over to you for final remark, if any, before we close the session.
Thank you very much, Khandelwal sir.
Mr. Nair,
Nair, you
inspire.
Very nice.
Mr. Nair, you inspire me all the time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All the best. Thank you. Very nice. Very nicely done. And human capital, your answer is exactly correct. That is the thing, main thing. Thank you very much.
Like cash, conserve the human capital.
Yeah. Human capital.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
I really
Thank you,
enjoyed.
Paresh Karia, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nair sir. It was wonderful session.
Great.
Thank you, all of us today for
I'm
really
sorry,
great session.
in between there were some interruptions. Can't help it. Yeah.
I have shared the last slide, sir, which you have not shared, Anil sir, with your book and the contact details. So all the participants.
Yeah. This is, if anybody wants to read about my life and Dare to Lead is the one, this is available on Amazon.
And AMA is a witness. AMA is a witness.
Yeah.
Agreed. And Dr. Anilji, I'm sure I will be picking up this book, CEO, Dare to Lead.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Thank
And
you.
this is, few of them have asked about the YouTube. Yeah, it is already right now streamed on YouTube. So you can even see in future also if you have missed any of the part. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
With your permission,
Thank
I'll
you
end
so
the
much.
lecture, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all participants.